All right, just waiting about another minute and then we'll get started. All right. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Katie Schalmo, and I am an assistant director at Kent State START campus. I've worked in financial aid for 11 years. I was at the Kent campus for those 11 years, and I started at the START campus in January. So I've taught financial wellness, financial literacy, to many students over the years, and I'm delighted to share with this group because I've never presented with this group, and I think it's a small group today, so please feel free to answer any questions as we go along. Sherry's going to be monitoring the chat, or feel free to turn your camera on and your microphone, and we can make it an open conversation and talk about so many questions that you have. This is such an important topic, and I don't know any of your ages or year in school or anything like that, but this information is important for any period of time in your life, and hopefully it can teach you something that you didn't know, or at least help you plan for something in the future. So I think to get credit for attending, you need to send your email address into the chat. If you're not comfortable, Sherry said, then you can message it to her directly so that it's not publicly seen in the chat box, but you need to make sure that you do that so you get credit for today. All right, so as mentioned, this is about financial wellness, and we're gonna go ahead and jump in. So this concept, I think, is one of the hardest when you get a job and you're earning income every month and you see the dollars start coming into your bank account. This concept is crucial to pay yourself first. And what do I mean by that? No, I don't mean pay yourself to go and buy those shoes that you really, really, really want. Paying yourself first is starting to create a savings. Save yourself money in case there is anything that is in the future that comes along. A rainy day fund, when your car breaks down on the side of the road fund. It is important to set a percentage of money that you are putting in your savings for times of need that will arise. So with every payday, pay yourself first. Initially, this concept is really hard, especially when you get that first job and you start to see that money coming in. I mean, you're thinking, I have plenty of money to go shopping and to go to that movie and then probably get dinner and buy something else I've been looking at on Amazon for weeks. But really, you're going to end up cutting yourself short, and then it's going to be a struggle as the days go on and the weeks go on of that month. So if you can live on a certain amount each payday, then you can likely live on 5 or 10% less of that. So once you start getting consistent paychecks in from your jobs, then you can determine what a good percentage is for you that you can set aside for a savings. And still maintain a lifestyle of, paying your rent on time, going to the grocery store, and entertainment is a very crucial part of still having a happy, healthy life. So you want to make sure you set aside for that. It doesn't mean do nothing every day. It is just making sure you have a goal and meeting that. Don't make it easy to access your savings. I know that is a hard concept nowadays because everything's on your phone and you can transfer money from your savings account into your checking at any time of the day. But if you can try to prevent that and maybe put it in like a mutual fund or something that you can't touch, or you'll get a penalty, then that would be something you might want to look into. Another concept that is really great is taking out cash each week to monitor your money. If you go to the bank on Friday and cash your checks, and then you get out a certain amount of cash that you have to live on for the next 2 weeks until you get paid again, that is really tough. If you get a divider of like like a billfold, and then it has dividers in it, and you have like, you know, your money for rent, and then you have your money for food, and then you have your money for entertainment. You know, that's all you have. If you set aside your credit card, set aside your debit card, and just try to use that cash, see how great you do at it, because that is really going to help you pay yourself first. And if none of you have ever done that before, Dave Ramsey is big on this. He is somebody that is very famous for budgeting and money and things. And that's one of his number one lessons. So I challenge you all to try that if you've never done it before, even for a week, and see if it's easy for you to do or see if it's really hard. All right, so budgeting. Budgeting 101. Track your spending. Where is your money going? That is step one. You may think you know where you're spending your money, but then once you start actually tracking that, it might kind of open your eyes a bit. There are so many apps that you can get right on your phone that will help you track everything. You can even set like budgets. So if you know what your rent is every week, you know what your car payment is every month and things like that, then you can start tracking that. And then every time you spend money, you can put that into that app on your phone, and then it'll just track it for you. So, and then it'll kind of give you like percentages, like how close are you to spending all of the amount that you budgeted for that month. And then you can monitor it that way. Most bank apps have this as well. They allow you to plug in any numbers so that it can help you with your budgeting. So if you have your bank account on your phone, take a look at some of the tools that they have and see if that's something you can complete. The next thing for budgeting is needs versus wants. So really focusing on, do I really need this? Or is it just something that I want? Will help you think through things. Don't derail your future for something you want but don't need. Another concept that I try to live by, and my husband is much better at this than I am, but if he wants to make a big purchase, he considers how much it costs and then considers what he makes an hour. So is it really worth to buy a new screen TV for, 2 days of work? All of those hours, is it really worth doing that? Or is it really worth running to the store and getting a new video game or something? Is that worth 2 hours of my workday? And sometimes when you bring that concept in, instead of looking at it as just like, I want this right now, it might help you think through, is this a need or is this a want? Another thing to consider, and we're going to talk about this, is how much money you're spending on meals out. Probably not so much these days with COVID. How much are you spending on your coffee, Starbucks or Dunkin'? Questioning, do I really need the latest and greatest phone? And do I really need to go and get that manicure and pedicure, or can I set back $100 for the month and not go and do that? Another thing that's helpful is to travel or plan for a special occasion, because you'll appreciate it more instead of that savings being just for something that is temporary. You could make memories and go do something really great. So what's important here for budgeting is, what is your end goal? You need to have goals. You need to have financial reality checks. And you're going to want to visualize all of that and start thinking through these things if you haven't done so already. So what I wanted to do, I don't know how, like if we were in person, I would have money to give you guys and you would have to pay it into me if you didn't meet some of these budget busters. So what I thought we could do is you could, if you're comfortable, you can turn on your camera and we can do a thumbs up if you already have this. Or if you want to do the thumbs up icon, I know it's only temporary, but if this is a goal that you, or a budget buster that you already have, then you can put your thumbs up saying that you have it. So I'm going to read off a couple of them. And these are to make you think and to help you start planning and help you budget. So the first one that I have for a way of budgeting, and if you do this already, put your thumbs up. I pack a lunch from home to save money and have better nutrition every day. I can only see like a couple names, so I don't know if it'll flash if anybody's up there. I chose to say this one first because you will save so much money so fast if you pack your lunch instead of running out. Even if you're only spending, $5.99 at Taco Bell, The amount of better nutrition that you will have and the amount of money you will save in your pocket from packing will make a huge difference. The second one is, I know how much I can spend each day or a week for snacks. Has anybody ever budgeted that, of how much they have? Right. I see some thumbs up. Great. Okay, the next one is, I know how much I can spend on clothing each month or for the year. Awesome. Great. Those are huge, because if you just go to the mall on a whim and you blow a ton of money, it's going to ruin your budgeting. So if you know what you have to spend on that, that's going to take you far. And set that aside. If you know you have an interview coming up and you're going to need a new suit jacket or something, that's something that you need to budget for. It is a need. That is not a want. Okay, what about this one? I plan how I will use the rest of my paycheck before I say yes to any impulse spending. All right, all right. Here's one of the biggies. I have written down my financial goals. Like, actually have written them down. That is important. When you write that down on paper, I see a couple people have done that. That's awesome. When you write that down on paper, that gives you a visual, and that helps you plan out your budgeting. So if you see a goal that you know how to obtain and you have an action plan to obtain it, that is going to help you be successful in budgeting. All right, I have a couple more. I have an emergency fund set aside equal to at least 2 months of living expenses. So this would be a savings. Awesome. If anybody doesn't have that, it is critical. For example, COVID-19 hit, and how many people were out of work, and how long did it take for people to be able to get money from the government? It took weeks and sometimes months, and people couldn't pay their rent. And that's why this one is such a critical budget buster, to make sure you have a savings, or start working towards that savings where you could live comfortably for 2 months if you lost your job. Okay, here's another biggie. I pay off the entire balance due on my credit cards each month to avoid interest charges. All right. So I think it's great. It's fine to have a credit card. A lot of times you need to have a credit card to establish credit, but you should be paying, if you can pay that off every month that you're using it, that is huge. Another thing I'll go over in this presentation is, please try to pay more than the minimum. You're never going to get out of debt if you're only paying your minimum credit card balance every month. All right. I like this one. I can provide or think of one good example of a spending mistake I made that helps me learn an important lesson in money management. I think this one we all can relate to. I know I personally didn't have this experience, but a friend of mine really, really wanted a certain car. And she fell for the, no money down and you can drive off the lot today. And she was making a $600 a month car payment to stay on track with everything. And that was not feasible for her living expenses. And she had to learn the hard way after she had that car. So those were just some budget busters to help you think and to start planning on ways that you can start budgeting, and some helpful tricks. So, all right, let's move on. So more budgeting. So I put up some examples on here. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm a visual learner. I need to see things spelled out. We can talk all day long, but I'm not going to retain anything until you show me some things. So I have an example student up here. This student makes $1,200 a month after taxes. So they must have a pretty good job. But they have kind of expensive budgets. So they've written out all of their items that is going to be required payment for the month, so that they can see where their savings is going, or if they're even creating a savings. So this student's rent is $529 a month. Their utilities and internet is $160. Their food is $200 a month. Transportation is $210. They do have a credit card, but they're only able to make the minimum payment, which is $25. They have a cell phone that is $100 a month, and they spend about $50 on entertainment. So that's kind of low for entertainment, but maybe that's because we're in the times that we are. So after all of their monthly expenses are made, they are in the hole for $74. So if they had any savings, they're already pulling out of it. So they're already over budget. They need to cut down somewhere. And again, entertainment is not something that's should be the first to go. We still need to have a healthy mental health and social relationships and things. So you need to start thinking about what are some things I can do to help with my monthly costs. So the same student gets a roommate, okay? So nothing changed for what she owes. She still has $1,200 a month after taxes, but now she has a roommate where she's dividing the costs by 2. So rent is now $265 a month. Utilities and internet, that's split too, so that's down to $80. She still has her own food that she was paying. That's not going to change, and that's $200. Transportation, $210. Her credit card payment, all of a sudden now that she's saved money by having a roommate, she can make much more of a higher payment on that credit card. Cell phone still $100, and entertainment is still $50. So the total is $1,005, and they still have money going into savings, and it's almost $200, even with making that higher credit card payment. So think through these things as you are trying to budget, see where you can cut costs. Another example, if you wanted to reduce your food costs, maybe shopping at Aldi or Mark's. I shop at Aldi consistently. At first, I was super turned off. I was like, no, I must have my name brands of all the things. Honestly, it is the exact same things. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that their manufacturer is Whole Foods. So they have a ton of organic stuff, and you can still eat super healthy, and it's such at a lower cost. All right, let's talk about coffee. This is definitely a guilty pleasure of mine. I think it is of so many people because I see the lines on a daily basis. So I plugged in some numbers because for me, the reality of what things cost, like actually seeing it on paper, is what will have an impact on me. So obviously it's going into fall, pumpkin spice latte is all the rage. So if you get a grande pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks, that will cost you $4.95. So let's say you run out and you get one 3 times a week. Not every day, so you're doing great, but you're doing it 3 times a week. That is $14.85 a week. So really that doesn't sound that bad for a pumpkin spice latte. Then you think about it as a month. $59.40 a month. Okay, that's kind of a lot. That's like $60 for a month for coffee that I could make at home. That is really cream and sugar and like some syrup. And that is $712.80 a year. That is more than 2 months rent for our person that we just looked at from the previous 2 slides. That is a lot. Coffee that costs more than 2 months of rent for a shelter over, like, that is crazy. So, you know, think about it next time you go. I don't say don't treat yourself every once in a while, but that would be something you would plan for. So if you had your divide of money, you know, if you got cash out for the week, that might be something you want to set aside for that week that you want to splurge on. But it's something to really think through as you're trying to budget and save money for your future. All right, so let's talk a little bit about credit. Why does credit matter? It's huge. It's if you don't have good credit, you're not going to be able to buy a house someday. You're not going to, because you're not going to get a loan. You're not going to be able to buy a car. And in fact, some employers now check potential employees' credit backgrounds to see, you know, if they're responsible, if they're going to be reliable. If they have super bad credit, they could have some thoughts in mind that why you may not be good for the job. So it's very, very important to establish good credit and making sure that you're checking, you know, check your credit score, work with somebody on how it can get better. These are important things. Some people identify credit equal to character. So I don't know how much I buy into that. There's a lot of good people who don't have great credit, but it's more about priorities. Where do your priorities lie? Are you a good budgeter? Are you a good money manager? Those are important for employers who are seeking somebody to work for them. And as I mentioned, it could impact a job offer. So make sure your credit is good. Having good credit allows you to have financial independence. This is critical for anybody. You never know what's going to happen to your partner or your spouse any day, or your parents. You want to be able to take care of yourself. So having financial independence starts with having good credit, so you can go and purchase that car or that home without a cosigner. This is a great one. Don't take the 20% off bait. So what a lot of stores do is they want things to sound like a better deal. So if you sign up for their credit card today, you're going to get 20% off your entire purchase. Well, that's fantastic, except not if you're going to struggle to pay off that full balance of that credit card. Because if you're going to make that minimum payment every month, that interest is going to skyrocket on that credit card. And then that company is going to get so much money off of you. And that's why they run those promos of, if you spend all, if you enter into our credit card today, then we'll give you 20% off of your purchase. And that's another thing that just goes with shopping on the regular. Usually places have upped that price and then knock it down 20%, but then advertise, hey, this is now 20% off. But really they just upped the price, the original price for that item. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, don't pay minimum balances, pay more. If you can pay more on that credit card, do so. It's going to help you in the long run, and it's going to be less interest that you have to pay in the long run as well. So save your money, meaning save your raise as well. So if you get a promotion at work, 100% celebrate that, but make sure you save that raise. And what I mean by that is you've already been living hopefully comfortably off of the income you had prior to that raise. So if you can save that raise, that's only going to boost your savings account more and help you reach your goals sooner. So be realistic, pay your current bills in full and then save. Don't create more debt for yourself. You can begin to budget your money today. So if any of you are listening to this and it's overwhelming and you feel like I'm never going to get to that point, you can start today. It can happen. For you, and you will better yourself for your future. And ask questions and write down names. So if you're working with your bank or you're working with a financial manager or something, make sure you're asking questions. And if you're making phone calls on your credit cards to find out if you can lower your interest rate and things like that, write down who you're speaking with and take notes on any financial interactions that you have, because it's ultimately, this is your money that people are working with, and you want to make sure that you get all the information that you need. All right, so let's talk about financial aid. So financial aid is obviously my specialty, since that is where I have began my career. And so I hopefully will give you guys a lot of information that will be helpful. Scholarships. Scholarships are your free money. They are money you do not have to pay back. You do usually have to put quite a bit of footwork in to find scholarships, but it is well worth it. Scholarships are available for continuing students. You don't have to think, well, I'm not a freshman anymore, so there isn't any scholarships available for me. That is not true. There are for Kent State Stark students at least, we have over 40 different categories for returning students for scholarship opportunities. Typically, you only need to have a GPA of about 2.5 or higher, obviously, and then awards can range anywhere from $250 to full tuition. So it is so important for you to learn what opportunities are there from your college that you are attending, and then to actually find out what you need to do to apply. So in our world, we have all these scholarships, and sometimes we don't even get enough students to apply for them. So we'll have money that goes unspent in certain scholarships if they didn't meet the criteria, or if we didn't get enough students to apply. We usually have about 175 students that do apply, so your odds are actually really great. And then what usually happens is they miss the deadline. So make sure you're aware of any deadlines for applications that you need to turn in. Typically, they're before the spring semester begins, but in some cases, they may be due March 1st. That's usually a big one. So yes, we've already started the 2020-2021 academic year. Now is when we're going to start going into scholarships for the next academic year. So applications usually need to be done potentially by before January 1, or if it's institutional based, then it could be March 1. We offer scholarship workshops, and this is for any student. You don't have to be a Kent State Stark student. It can be for anybody. The first one is in November, and then the second one is in January. And what these do is they teach you how to look for scholarships, how to fill out an application, and then they actually do like an essay writing section. So it will help you achieve these scholarships. And the person who runs it is actually our scholarship coordinator. So she knows exactly what donors are looking for and how to express yourself in your scholarship essay appropriately. All right, so if anybody receives federal financial aid, there are standards of academic progress that you have to meet in order to continue to be eligible for federal financial aid. So you have to maintain a certain GPA to continue receiving money from the federal government. For freshmen, they have to have a minimum 1.25 GPA. For sophomores, you have to have a minimum 1.5 GPA. And then for junior seniors, you need to have a minimum 2.0 GPA. So it goes up as you go up in school. You also have to make a certain percentage of completing your credit hours. So what do I mean by that? So if you start out taking 12 credit hours in a semester and then you realize you're overwhelmed and you drop down to 6 credit hours, you're only meeting a 50% completion. So there are standards that you have to meet that are cumulative for students. So it's super important that you meet with a financial aid representative before you consider dropping any courses so that they can see if you're in jeopardy of losing any financial aid for upcoming semesters. So typically a freshman has to complete 50% of their courses for their first year. Sophomores need to complete 60% of their courses, and then junior seniors have to complete 67%. So, you know, when you're a freshman, this sounds like, sure, I can meet 50%, but remember, it gradually gets harder as you go up. So if you're dropping a bunch of courses, that's going to negatively impact your percent complete, and then you're going to be in trouble, and you could potentially lose your financial aid. You also have to be working with an academic advisor to make sure that you're on track to completing your degree, because the federal government isn't going to give financial aid forever. They're going to put a cutoff. So once you've reached a certain amount of degrees, or a certain amount of credit hours towards a degree, then you're not able to get any more financial aid. So for an associate degree, it's 97, and for a bachelor's degree, it's 180. All right, so for my loan recipients, which is the majority of students, this is important for you to understand. You can make payments now on your federal direct loans, and it's important to do so for unsubsidized loans. So I'm going to talk about the 2 main direct loans that you get from filling out the FAFSA. So federal direct loan, there's subsidized and unsubsidized. So the subsidized loan is the loan that is for need-based. So what do I mean by that? That's where your FAFSA comes in and you have a certain number that tells us that you are a need-based student, so you have need. So a subsidized loan, the interest does not begin accruing on that loan until after you graduate, or if you drop below half-time, which is 6 credit hours. So that is the better of the 2 to take if you have the option. The unsubsidized loan, the interest begins accruing from the moment it's accepted. You are not required to make interest payments, but it is accruing. So that principal balance that you've borrowed, so say you accepted $2,000 in an unsubsidized loan, interest is going to start accruing on that every single month. So you're never just going to pay $2,000 back. You're going to pay $2,000 plus interest. So you can make those payments while you're in school. You would just work with your lender, which you can find in the National Student Loan Data System. So if you go into, this is an important website, so write it down if you can, studentaid.gov, you can log in and you'll be able to look at your loans that you've already borrowed and see who the lender is for each of those loans. And then you can email them or call them and ask if you can begin making payments, and there are no penalties for that. Okay. And the last part of that is academic progress does matter. Don't jeopardize your financial aid. And that's kind of what we talked about, making sure that you are meeting your GPA, that you are meeting the percent complete standards so that you don't get into any trouble moving forward. Okay, so let's talk about some repayment options. So this is important to think about. And when I was a college student, I didn't think about this. I borrowed federal direct loans like I just described, but I also borrowed private loans. So I lived on campus where I went to school, and this was how I paid my dorm and paid for my meal plan and paid for my tuition. So in my head, I was like, I'm gonna have a great job coming out of college, so there's no reason why I can't pay all of this back. What I didn't understand was interest rates and how they work. So I'm going to describe that a little bit for you guys. So for federal direct loans, so the loans you get from the FAFSA that we just talked about, those are fixed interest rates. So they will not change once you finish school. You'll be fixed interest, and then you'll set up a repayment option that I have listed for you here on the screen. Private loans, if anybody is taking out private loans or have a variable interest rate, and that's going to change about every 3 to 5 months. So you may be paying something that's very affordable for the first 3 months, but then it changes depending on the economy and your payments go through the roof. So it's just important to make sure you do your research, focus on your what are the interest rates that they're offering, and go from there. And there are a ton of loan repayment options. So if you start repaying on your loans and you are struggling, don't just stop paying, hoping to figure it out later. You need to work with that lender and see if there's a different payment option that would be available to you. So I'm not going to go into all of these. So when you receive exit counseling from your school once you graduate, or if you drop below half-time, it's important to take your time with that and read it thoroughly, because it's going to describe all of these repayment options. So there are some that are just standard payments that you'll have a set amount that you'll pay every month. There are some that are like income based. So depending on where you get your future job, then you'll be able to say, okay, this is the income that I have. This is how much that I can pay. And then if that income changes, then your amount will change. Pay as you earn, so you can pay money as you get money. That's an option for you. And then there's some that are like income-based, income contingent, income sensitive. There's just a lot of options. So you'll just want to work with your lender to determine which one is the best for you when that time comes. So when you see that exit counseling email and you have to log in to complete that, don't just scroll through it to get it done. Make sure you learn and teach yourself what some of these options are. All right, so this slide I put in here just given the circumstances that we are all going through in life right now. So for anybody who is receiving financial aid, so if you filled out the free application for federal student aid, that's the FAFSA, if it does not accurately show what your income looks like because of special circumstances that have happened, there are options for you. So for example, the FAFSA for 2020, 2021, so this current FAFSA that you're using, is tax returns from 2018. That was 2 years ago, and life looks a lot different from then to now for most of our world, actually. So if you experienced a loss of job or reduced wages in 2019, contact your financial aid office and talk about a special circumstance application. We may be able to look at what your income looked like in 2019 versus 2018, and we could make a change. The other option might be if you had a loss of job or reduced wages in 2020, likely due to COVID. We can actually project what your income will look like for 2020 and use that on the FAFSA instead of 2018. If you or your parent, maybe your dependent student, if you or your parent is experiencing a separation or a divorce, and we have your spouse or your parent, both parents' income information on the FAFSA and that needs to be removed, you can go through a special circumstance for that, and we'll have a more accurate picture of what your income in that household looks like. If there has been a death of a parent or a spouse, you can do a special circumstance for that as well, so that that income is not used on the FAFSA. And then if anybody's dependent and you have a parent in college, you're not allowed to count that parent in college when you're filling out the FAFSA, and you have to go through a special circumstance in order for us to count that parent as in college. And that actually impacts your need pretty drastically. So if your parent is going at least half time, then they could potentially be eligible for that as well. All right, so I just put some contact information on here for us. For Kent State Stark, I'm sure Sherry has shared her contact information, but we're doing a lot of different things now, as most schools are, to still be in contact with our students. We're still remote for the most part, and so anytime you need to contact somebody from the financial aid office, if you're a Kent State Stark student, you can do that through financial aid virtual drop-ins. We do those about 3 times a week. They're on our website. The website's listed here. So, if you have a question that comes up, you can always take a look and see if we have virtual drop-ins where you can just click on the link and it'll drop you into Blackboard and you'll be able to see us and ask us questions, and you'll be in a personal virtual room. You can also schedule by an appointment. So we're doing Microsoft Bookings where you can click on the link, pick your date, pick your time, and then it'll show you a list of representatives who would be available, and you can book your own appointment that way. And then you can always email us. Please feel free to email me at this website too if you have any questions about this presentation, or if you need any more information. I would be happy to help you, and you can email starkfinancialaid@kent.edu. And then we're located in Main Hall and Student Services, but again, everybody is remote. So the only assistance that they're doing in the office is booking an appointment for you. We also have a veteran certifying official. So if anybody has veteran benefits that they're using or they have questions about, Annie Fritz is your girl in the financial aid office. So her contact is listed there below as well. And I can answer any questions that you have, or Sherry, if you can see any in the chat, please feel free to let me know and I'll be happy to answer them.
We don't have any questions so far.
Okay.
Just lots of great votes for Aldi.
All right. Does anybody want to, you can ask a question, you can share your mic, you don't have to turn your camera on if you're not comfortable doing that too. Completely up to you. I wanted to, while you're thinking, if you're thinking of anything, I wanted to tell you an app that I really like, and I'm searching my phone for it because I cannot remember what it's called. Oh, and I might have taken it. Oh, let me see if I still have it on here. It was a good one. No, I must not have it on here anymore. My banking app has it now, so I took it off. I think it was one that was Dave Ramsey's too. So if you Google Dave Ramsey and search for like his budgeting app, you'd be able to find it. And it was free. I just put it on my phone and it helped me like plug in my numbers. And what was neat was I could share it with my spouse. So we could both like see what each of us was spending, and like it was just helpful when we were really trying to work towards a savings and work towards buying a house and things like that. So I strongly encourage anybody to do that. Also, I wanted to say too, is you don't have to wait to go through exit counseling to learn about your lender and learn about repayment plans. You can always make an appointment with your financial aid representative, and it's our job to provide that counseling to you. So if you have any questions about who your lender is and how to determine what would be a repayment plan, or how can I make interest-only payments while I'm still in school, if you need some assistance with that, you can reach out to your financial aid office and they'll have somebody who specializes in that and be able to assist you. So, all right, I don't know if there's anybody have any questions?
Don't think there's any questions.
Okay, well, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it on a Friday. So it's really nice outside. I can see the sun peeking out through one of my windows. So hopefully you can enjoy the day and have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.